Hello, and thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how to remove an engine from a riding lawn tractor. This model happens to be a Troy-bilt Bronco, but the procedure is about the same for just about any one of these riding lawn mowers. I already did 2 videos on this particular mower. One was a safety warning. This tractor was on fire, and the other was how to remove the fender and the footrest or the seat pan that fits in here. It holds the seat and where you would rest your feet. Now, I'm removing this engine because I'm going to be using the frame for an upcoming project, and also I have another engine that's blown. That's the same model as this one here. This is an Intech 18.5 horsepower. I believe the other one's the same, or it might be a 20 horse. And one or two things. Either I'm going to use the plastic cowling from the other one, if I could get this engine started, as bad as it looks, and just work on the outside. Or if the heads will fit, I'm going to take the heads off this one and put on the other one. The other one has bad heads. So the first thing, if this wasn't all burnt up over here, you want to disconnect these wires. This is a bad replica, but you would disconnect all the wires, the starter wire, these wires over here. You would come around and disconnect. I already started this and decided to do a video on it. You would disconnect the choke and the throttle cable. If you're not sure how it goes back, mark them, put a piece of tape on them before you take them off if you're swapping engines out. And if you don't have a lift or a hoist where you could pick this machine up, you could do what I'm going to do now. I'm simply going to turn it over. I'm going to rest it on a chair. Once I have it turned over, I'll show you how I'm going to proceed. Okay, you can see what I have here. I have the pipe wrench onto the back of this pulley, onto the shaft part of it. You need that, otherwise when you're turning this bolt that's under here, it'll just spin and you won't go anywhere with it. All right, that'll hold it and it'll help it break free. And this came out fairly easy. Now, if you have access to a pneumatic impact wrench or an electric impact wrench, that'd be the best way to go with this. But I'm working outside in the field and I don't have any of the power tools with me. Now, this is coming off without any problem. I can see it now as I'm pulling this pipe wrench off. Kind of working, staying focused here at the same time. Normally, this doesn't come off as easy as you see this. You might have to get a pipe or a block of wood and tap it down. This is coming right off. So this might have had a belt change at one time and somebody was good enough to put never sees on it. I'm gonna have to put the camera down and pull this with 2 hands. All right, and this is what you're looking at. You don't want to lose the key that's in. I'm having trouble with between ticks in this field and flies biting. I'm having a lot of fun out here. You don't want to lose that key in the keyway if you're going to be using it again. If you're scrapping it, well, that's another story. And here's the belt. So if you had to change the drive belt, you'd be doing the same procedure with this. Now I'm just going to undo the bolts that are in here and I'll lift that engine right out. I believe they're all the same. On this particular one, the bolt had a 5/8 head on it. You need a 5/8 socket for it. Okay, but like I said, normally they don't come off this easy. And you can see this shaft, it's not rusted at all. Somebody must have changed this belt at one time and had it cleaned up. I never had them come off that easy. So now I'm just going to take the bolts off. I'll put this right side up. I'll pull it off, and I have to get the muffler out of here also. I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, a couple things I want to point out as I'm going along. If this is your first time doing this, and it probably is if you're visiting here today, we have the belt guard. You want to screw this out to get it out of your way. You'll need a wrench to pull this out. If you don't have a wrench that fits, a pair of vice grips or even a pipe wrench will get it out. And The bolts that we have to get out, there's one up here, see it by my finger, and one down here. Not to remove this whole plate, which would be a mess, just use a wrench, open-ended wrench. This happens to be a ratchet, it'll help out once I get it going. It's in there tight, so what I'm going to do is just to put the wrench on, tap it with a hammer to loosen it up, and then I'll use this ratchet end. If you don't have one of these ratcheting wrenches, it'll just take you a little bit longer to do. Or you could decide to take this all off if you could use this steering mechanism. Well, as you can see, I have it right side up. A couple of things. On this model here, I cut the wires because they're shot, and I want to keep the wires coming out of the engine, so when I replace them, I know what goes where. Interesting enough, I put a jumper on here, and the starter works to turn the engine. Despite all this, the starter still works. And as far as taking this, and as far as removing this engine, I took all the bolts off but the last one of the ones that were up front. I just used a long extension when I put it right side up to take that one bolt out. So there was one bolt holding this engine on. I left that on so it just wouldn't fall over. There's practically no oil in here. You can see on the bottom, just melted out. But I still don't want to get oil all over the lawn. Oh, these flies are biting like crazy out here. And it's hot. How hot? Let me show you. That said, I'm going to lift this up now. I don't have anybody holding the camera. My cameraman Johnny's not here today with me. I'm going to pull this engine out, get it out of the way, get this chassis out of the way, clean up, and call it a night. Okay, we got it out. Got it in the wheelbarrow here. And like I mentioned before, when I hooked up a jumper to this cranked. So I got to put this on a mount, take it in the shop, peel this apart, see what it looks like underneath, put a nipple on here. I don't like these plastic drain valves. What I usually do is get a plumbing nipple. I put a plumbing nipple in there, I make it stick out past the frame with an elbow going down and a plug, and that's how I usually drain mine. You don't want it to stick out too far where you hit it if you go close to some brush, but just enough where it passes the frame where it doesn't drain all over the frame. These are okay if you have the hose with it and you could drain it. They usually come with a hose, but when you buy these things secondhand, you never have the hose, and for some reason or other they don't work. In this case, obvious why this one isn't going to work. But that said, that's it guys. This whole job should take about 15 minutes. Well, if you have to take the deck off, this I already had the deck and the hood off. Give yourself about an hour, more than enough time to get this engine off. And you can see why this caught on fire. This over here this is where the muffler goes. This was packed with leaves. The deck was still packed with leaves, and all the leaves were in here. So when that muffler got hot, I already did a video on this, but I just want to bring it up again because if it happened once, it can happen again. He was trying to mulch his leaves. They packed in against the muffler. The deck is underneath, so everything was stuck up in there. Those leaves caught on fire and spread right up. He was lucky he got off this thing in time. Look at this, burnt right through the gas tank. I don't know how much gas he had in here, but look at this. This is some mess. A little off topic here, but I like to give a little safety warning. Again, I'm being careful. These really aren't mulches, and you want to watch what you're doing. It doesn't take much for a disaster to happen. So guys, if you have any questions or any comments, post them down below. If you enjoyed this video, found it useful, give it a like, pass it along to someone else who may be able to use it. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe, and be sure to hit that notification bell not to miss any of my videos as I upload them. Until next time everyone, stay safe.